A pleasant day, everyone. I'm here again to talk about underlying principle in educational measurement. We know that measurement can be objective and subjective. Objective measurements are more stable than subjective measurements in the sense that repeated measurements of the same quantity or quality of interest will produce more or less the same outcome. For this reason, many people prefer objective measurements over subjective measurements whenever they are available. However, there are certain factors of the quantity or quality of interest that cannot be successfully captured by objective procedures, but which can be done by subjective method. For example, the aesthetic appeal of a product or a project of a student, or student performance in a drama or a play. It follows that it may be best to use both methods of assessment whenever the constraints of time and resources permit. So whenever one uses an objective or subjective assessment procedure, the underlying principle in educational measurement is summarized by the following formula. Measurement of quantity or quality of interests is equal to the true value plus random error. So in its measurement of the quantity of interests has two components. That is the true value of the quantity and the random error component. So the objective in educational measurement is to estimate or approximate as closely as possible the true value of the quantity of interest. That is the true knowledge of the subject matter. So objective measurements are measurements that do not depend on a person or individual taking the measurement, regardless of who is taking the measurement. The same measurement values should be obtained when using an objective measurement procedure. In contrast, subjective measurements often differ from one assessor to the next, even if the same quantity or quality is being measured. Let us take a look on these measuring indicators, variables, and factors. An educational variable that is denoted by an English alphabet X is measurable characteristic of a student. Variables may be directly measurable as in X is equal to age or X is equal to height of the student. However, many times a variable cannot be directly measured, like when we want to measure, for instance, class participation of a student. So for these variables, where direct measurements are not feasible, we introduce the concepts of indicator. So indicator denotes the presence or absence of a measured characteristics. Thus, if the characteristic is present, I is equal to 1. If the characteristics is present, I is equal to 0 if the characteristics is absent. For the variable X, class participation, we can let I1, I2, I3 until all the variable X is listed, which denote the participation of a student in a class recitation. X or variable X is equal to the summation of I from 1 going to N divided by N. N is the number of cases. Indicators are the building blocks of educational measurement upon which all other forms of measurement are built. A group of indicators constitute a variable. A group of variables form a construct or a factor. Example, mathematical ability factor constitute the variable. Computation skills, logic and reasoning skills, sequence and series. The variables which form a factor correlate highly with each other but have low correlation with variables in another group. So, this is now an example of the following variables that is measured in a battery of tests. X1 is equal to the computational skills, X2 reading skills, X3 vocabulary, X4 logic and reasoning, X5 sequences and series, and X6 manual dexterity. So if you have to group the variable and so a mathematical ability factor, language ability factor, psychomotor ability factor. So in educational measurement, we shall be concerned with indicators, variables, and factors of interest in the field of education. Evaluation originates from the root word value. The process is to give information about the worth, appropriateness, goodness, quality, validity, or legality of something for which a reliable measure has been made. The chief purpose of evaluation is the improvement of the individual learner. Other purposes are maintain standards, select student, motivate learning, guide learning, furnish instruction, and appraise educational instrumentalities. The function of evaluation, we have prediction, diagnosis, research. While areas of educational evaluation, we have achievement, aptitude, interest, and personality. Characteristics of a well-defined system of evaluation. First, enable one to clarify goals. Second, check upon each phase of development. Diagnose learning difficulties. Plan carefully for remediation. Thank you for watching.